unsettling rituals, an unhinged Sally Hawkins, and a kid who is clearly not gonna make it to school tomorrow. Danny and Michael Philippous's follow-up to the highly rated Talk to Me has been on the radar of many horror movie fans ever since it was announced that they were going to be stepping back into the directing chair and bringing us a new horror movie. But does this second sophomore outing of theirs deliver? Is this as good as Talk to Me? Should you jump in your car and see this movie in the cinemas? Let's talk Bring Her Back. So Bring Her Back tells the story of two kids that are sent to live with a foster caretaker named Laura after an unexpected death leaves them as orphans. But is this woman taking them in out of the goodness of her heart, or does she have sinister intentions? It's pretty clear pretty early on in this film that there is a lot more going on with Laura than meets the eyes. Starting with the fact that she has this really strange relationship with this kid that she also took in named Oliver, and there is just something really off with this kid and their whole connection. This movie stars Sally Hawkins, Billy Barratt, Jonah Wren Phillips, Sally Ann Upton, and Sora Wong. We all know that horror movies can be a bit of a mixed bag. Sometimes they get so focused on being absolutely shocking and gory that they totally forget to have a really good story, and other times they do such a good job with the story, but they also become kind of boring. So is this movie suffering from any of those things? I'm happy to report that this movie never really loses sight of its goal or the path that it's planning on taking to get to that conclusion. I love a good build-up. I don't want too much build-up. I don't want to sit there thinking, oh my god, when is shit gonna start happening? But this movie, it really does have a very solid build-up. It pulls you in. It makes you care about these kids pretty early on. As a matter of fact, I was feeling pretty possessive of them. I wanted them to be happy. I wanted them to be safe. They've been through enough. But of course, I'm just a moviegoer. I'm sitting in the cinemas watching this thing on the screen. I have no control over what's gonna happen. So all I could really do was sit there and hope with everything I had in me that Laura was a good caretaker. And personally, I don't really think she was, but I'm gonna leave that up to you guys. You know, I don't want to judge a parent. You guys can form your own opinions. I just think I would have been a little bit different than her. Now, Sally Hawkins, we all know, is a talented actress, so there's no surprise with that. But what did surprise me was these two kids. Actually, these three kids. All three of the kids in this movie really nailed their performances. You've got Jonah Wren Phillips playing Oliver, who spends most of this movie silent, and this kid really knows how to come off as just so unsettling. Every single time he was on screen, I felt nervous because this kid was kind of whack. You didn't know what he was going to do from 1 minute to the next. Clearly something was really off with this kid, and this Jonah kid, he really did bring this performance to life in a really good way. His performance had to be kind of tricky, I'm sure. They're just telling him, hey kid, you're gonna walk around and you're gonna just be creepy for an hour and 45 minutes, and he did it. He did it. Sora Wong and Billy Barratt also really gave me a nice surprise with these performances, especially Sora Wong. Now this girl is just like her character, visually impaired. She's not totally blind. She can see a little bit. She's got light and maybe some brief colors, but she is a visually impaired actress, and I thought she really did a great job making me care about her character. She brings that innocence because you are going to feel naturally protective of her. You want her to be safe. She's visually impaired. She's at a disadvantage that many kids don't even have. So I felt an extra connection to her, and I think that that is to do with this really good performance from this young actress. So yeah, it's a well-rounded cast all the way around. Now, it should go as no surprise that this movie is not immune to some of those typical horror movie tropes. It's just hard to reinvent the formula at this point. And horror movies have been around for so long that we're going to start seeing things that we've seen before. But I'm happy to say that I think the way this movie does things really does feel fresh. I didn't sit there thinking this felt like a rehash of Evil Dead or The Ring. It didn't feel overly familiar to any particular movie. I'm just letting you know that there are going to be those occasional jump scares, those moments where you kind of think you know what's going to happen, and sometimes you're actually right. Yeah, this movie has some of that. And I gotta warn, this movie's gore, it's fucking gnarly. This movie is kind of disgusting. Me and the guy sitting next to me in the cinemas, we didn't even know each other, okay? I go there by myself, and we both turned and looked at each other with our hands over our mouths like, oh my god, wow, it's just insane. Y'all expect gore when it comes to horror movies, but this movie was totally disgusting. Not like Hostel gross or Saw disgusting, but this movie is plenty disgusting. It's plenty repulsive if you are someone who really gets excited by seeing all kinds of corn syrup blood and just limbs and just, you know, whatever's going on with your weird sick imagination, whatever horror movie tropes you want to see, you're gonna see that in this film. It's gonna deliver.
I'm supposed to report how safe and reliable you are. So stay safe, stay reliable, yeah?
So how does it compare to Talk to Me? I think this is a pretty solid second effort outing from these two fairly new directors. These guys, if you don't know, they started out as YouTubers. They've done some interning on movie sets, but they have a really cool story. It's kind of a rags to riches kind of story because they started out kind of like me, just doing a YouTube channel, and look where they are now. They are directing feature films that I am now reviewing, so that is totally awesome. And their imagination when it comes to gore, they really know how to just poke. They just poke. They are reaching into these fears that we all have. You know, we've all had gross little ideas that we are afraid of that's gonna happen to us, or we get these things in our heads. And it's like they got into our head and they're like, let's do that. Let's bring that to the screen and show everybody what their imagination looks like come to life. And damn. Damn. They are playing the audience's fears like a guitar, and it's a very catchy melody. This movie is going to satisfy fans of horror movies. If you are into it, I think you're going to leave very impressed. For me, this movie is a 9 out of 10. If you saw this movie, go ahead and put your thoughts on it in the comments. I am looking forward to reading some of those. There's some scenes in this movie that I'm pretty sure are going to stick to people, and they're going to become talking points for people going forward. So yeah, let's get that conversation going. If you like this video, hit that like button, something I know you liked it. And if you want to hear more things from me, you know what to do. You need to subscribe. Later.